2024, that was the hottest year ever recorded, and that was also the most devastating one. Just for the first time, we crossed a critical limit. The average global temperature was 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. And yet, this is not enough to spur action. The world is going in the wrong direction, and it's not Amnesty saying it, it's the UN Environmental Programme has reported that we are on track for 3 degrees. We are really far away from what the government agreed in the Paris Agreement just a decade ago. And government has failed to uphold their commitments. 2024 was also a devastating year, with global temperatures surpassing 1.5 degrees. Every month brought devastation. Just every day, on every corner of the planet, we have witnesses extreme climate events, destroying lives and communities. Just look what happened: heat waves, wildfires, heavy rain, cyclone. Just look to Africa. Africa, for example, people were forced to flee their home, and they're leading to a level of forced displacement never seen. And I think it's an addition with what's happening with the conflict, what just Deprose explained, the forced displacement in Africa. Just look to Pakistan and India. There were also intense and deadly floods, and it happened also in Spain. And this is only happening with 1.5 degrees. This is going to be worse, and we know it. We know it because extreme climate events will become more frequent, and they will also be more severe as temperature is going to rise. The human rights cost of climate disruptions is already high, too high, especially because we know what we have to do to fix it, but we are not doing it. The solutions are in our hands, and all human harms caused by climate change are avoidable. At the same time, and it happens in 2024, but especially also in the early months of 2025, we have seen an unprecedented attack on science and multilateralism. Yeah, it's sure, the Trump effect has an effect, and some government like United States, but also Argentina, has even announced that they will withdraw from the Paris Agreement. This sends a dangerous message to the world, because you think that you can ignore scientific facts, you can ignore and escape climate boundaries, but they can't. It's impossible. Withdrawing from Paris Agreement, withdrawing from international agreement will not stop the impact of climate change. It will just increase the cost paid by people, especially the most vulnerable people. That's why we need, and I think we stress that in all the report, what you said also, Agnès and Deprose, we need multilateral cooperation. We need government to stand up. We need government also to be coherent. We need them to divest from economical projects and sectors that harm human rights, and especially the right to a healthy environment. At the same time, in Baku, what we have seen in the COP29 is the failure of the world and the failure of developed countries to respond by urgent need for adaptation finance. Adaptation is vital. It's vital in many parts of the world. It can save lives, it can enable communities to enjoy their human rights. But the current level of that adaptation funding is really far, far away from what we need, and the decision at the COP was really a deception. It will leave countries and poorest countries who are less responsible for climate crisis to pay the highest price. But our main message in this report is the fact that people in face of this existential threat, people are not staying silent. Activists, communities, people, individuals, they demand climate justice in 2024. They went to court, they used international law, they used national law, they went to justice. And let's take one example. It's Elizabeth Stern. She's 70 years, she's from Switzerland. She was not the only one, she was with a group of older women. She went to the European Court of Justice, and they won. That's the historical story. They won in front of the European Court of Human Rights, saying that Switzerland was responsible for enacting, not doing enough in climate action, and by this climate inaction, Switzerland is violating their human rights. It's historical, it will be here, it will be used in other places of the world, in other courtrooms of the world, and it's important. Just look what happened to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, she's born in the 40s. She's born in the shadow of the glaciers in Switzerland. But every day in her daily life, now she's 70, she's seeing the impact of climate change. The glaciers are melting, but also at the same time we have more heat waves. And we know that heat waves, it kills women, especially older women. Study has shown that, and that's why she won in the European Court of Justice. It's important what happened in this decision justice, because the court found that climate change falls within its jurisdiction, that human rights apply to the climate crisis, and that the court was obliged to consider the generation now, but also the future generation. And Elizabeth is not alone, and I think Agnès mentioned it. There is also the student of Vanuatu. That students, they are law students, they decide to go to the most important court in the world, the International Court of Justice. And now they're saying, we want to know what are the obligations of the states? What are the obligations of the state to face climate change and to act? And I think the hearings began, but we will see in the years coming, I think, an important decision with an advisory body. We know what we need to do. We know we must phase out fossil fuels. We know adaptation is crucial to reduce the human rights cost of climate change. The big question is, will government do what we need? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carine. Thank you to our panelists, Agnès Callamard, Deprose Muchena, and Carine Thibaut.